Welcome everyone to Lessons for Life podcast. I'm Troy Hudkins, here with my guest, Trent Williams. Trent,
Hello.
thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Pleasure to have you here.
Pleasure to be here.
So, to start with, who is Trent Williams?
Well, he's a pretty regular guy. But like you said earlier when we were talking, everybody's got their own story. But I try to be creative, and I try to be a good man, and I try and be a good husband, and I try and be a good dad.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Who has been your biggest influence in your life, your mother or your father?
Oh, man. You know, that's a tough one. Probably my mom on the creativity side of things.
Nice.
My mom's very musically talented and trained.
Awesome.
And she has a lot of ambition with creating and helping other people create. And my dad, in that, just some of those core values that someone could talk about a lot,
Okay.
but never live. My dad doesn't talk a lot, but he does live it.
Okay.
So
good example to watch.
Yeah.
He might not say the things, but he's always doing the right thing and gives you that example.
Yeah. There's not even the slightest hint of dishonesty anywhere in his soul.
Nice. That is awesome.
Yeah.
So both your parents have been a really big influence on your life.
Yeah.
Right on.
They both have a ton of integrity.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So what is integrity to you? What does integrity mean to you?
To me, it's nobody's perfect with this, but it's doing what you say and saying what you do, and kind of having your values and your actions really close.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. So of all the good traits your mother and father have, so starting with your mother, say, of all of her good traits, what is one that you would like to take and pass on to your family, your children?
Me and my wife have both talked about this, and my wife tries to use some of this in her life too, and I definitely try to, is my mom tries to make people feel special.
Nice.
And not just by talking, by actions. Like if it's somebody's birthday, or if it's Christmas or whatever, my mom will go to no end to make people feel special.
Awesome.
And we've definitely taken a lot of that and tried to put that into play with our own kids, raising kids. And when there's times where they should feel special, we try and make them feel really special. Like there's just tons of traditions that we've taken from my mom.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. Okay, what about your father?
So, like, what's the biggest thing he's taught me?
What kind of traits would you take from him, or what is one trait that you would take from him that you would like to pass down to your children?
Definitely the honesty.
Honesty.
Yeah. My dad, and he didn't come by it just perfectly naturally or anything like that. I think it comes from his dad too. He tells a story. When we were kids, he told us this story. My dad was walking through a field. I think they were out on a farm or in a pasture or something, and my dad and my grandpa were walking through a field, and my dad spotted a hammer sitting in the grass. And my dad picked it up. He said, "Look, I got a hammer." And my grandpa, said something to the tune of, "No, you don't. That's not your hammer. What if somebody comes looking for that? Put it on the fence post." So that always stuck with my dad, and that story stuck with me.
Nice.
And just to dig a little deeper into something that goes along with honesty is to never feel entitled to anything. Because if you feel entitled, that's when you can get into those gray areas, right?
Yeah.
And I've got into those gray areas.
Ego takes over.
Yeah. Ego takes over. It's like, well, that should be mine. I found it.
Right.
Or this situation should be how I want it, so I'm going to tell a little white lie.
Right.
And nobody's perfect at that, and I'm certainly not. But I feel like just that, getting that from my dad, has steered me away from trouble a lot.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. You have family, siblings? You have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I've got 3 brothers and 3 sisters.
Okay. What kind of impact did your siblings have on your life?
Oh man, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Frustrating.
Family.
Yeah. But I feel super lucky the way I grew up, because I have an older brother, somebody I could learn from and get cool hand-me-downs and stuff like that. He was a really cool guy. He is a really cool guy. Super talented, super hard worker. So, really good example, but also a tough act to follow. He was an amazing basketball player.
Nice.
Played for Team Alberta.
Cool.
For years when he was a teenager, and played against Steve Nash, and
Nice.
And he was an excellent student, and he's humble all at the same time. He's one of those guys you're like, does he have any problems? But he did.
Yeah.
And then my younger siblings, it was just so much fun, because there's always something going on. Me and my sister, who's just younger than me, we fought like cats and dogs, but I love her. She's a good woman. She grew up, and she embodies a lot of the good things that my mom and dad, instilled in us.
Awesome.
She's got a lot of integrity too. And then my brother, he's kind of like the middle child. My younger brother, he's just funny.
Yeah.
And super creative. He got all the musical talent in the family.
Right on.
And
takes after your mom.
Yeah, and out of all my siblings, I get along best with him. We just have a blast when we get together.
Is that because of the humorous aspect?
The humor is huge for both of us.
Awesome.
We kind of shared a room growing up after my older brother kind of moved out. And so we had a few years together down in the basement room, and it was hilarious. I loved having a little brother, for sure. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I was a bit hard on him at times, but
you're the big brother.
He took it like a champ, and he doesn't seem to hold too much against me for it. So
nice.
I'm lucky there.
Nice.
We still have a really good relationship when we get together.
That's awesome. Yeah, I grew up in a basement room too.
Did you?
My 2 brothers and me, and I'm the youngest, so I got all the.
In there, hey?
Oh yeah, we got lots of times when Dad would come downstairs, tell us to settle down and go to sleep.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
definitely a few holes in the drywall from us for sure.
Yeah. We had sheets hanging up between our beds because we had concrete walls.
Yeah, good,
We didn't have a built basement at that time. So
good for basement sports.
yeah, there was a lot of that went on.
That's a Canadian tradition, basement
Right.
sports, eh?
Basement sports, definitely.
And then my younger siblings, they're so much younger than me that it almost seems like there's two families.
Okay.
They're all amazing, beautiful people. But I was almost like aloof and out of it by the time they were even reaching their teenage years.
Old enough to kind of be part of it.
Yeah.
You were already gone.
So like, and my youngest brother, he is, I think, 17 years younger than me. So,
okay.
So when I was in 11th grade, he was born. So I had a baby brother in 11th grade, and I thought that was really cool. And of course, you know, when I have my baby brother around, of course, the teenage girls love that too. So,
oh yeah. So you thought that was cool to take him out with you?
Yeah. I started dating my wife in junior high school.
Okay.
And of course, it was soap opera, you know, up and down throughout high school.
Okay.
You're just dumb kids, right? But so she actually feels like he's her little brother too, because
nice.
I was already dating her when he was born.
Nice. So she's known that from day one.
Yeah.
That's
my
awesome.
younger siblings, she views as her siblings as well, almost.
That's awesome.
You know, we were mostly grown when they were all little.
Nice. So with such an age gap between you and your younger siblings, what do you think you could take from your younger siblings and learn from?
One of the things that I think about a lot is just my parents raised us and treated us older siblings a lot different than the younger ones. And you can see what works and what doesn't.
Right.
And you can see where maybe I need to mellow out on certain things, and where maybe I should still be on top of certain things. So,
right.
Because me and my oldest siblings it was pretty old school. Like, my parents are gentle, but they were definitely a little harder on us. It was like they were preparing us for life a little bit more, whereas the younger siblings, it seems like they're almost like friends. And,
right.
And I think they have a really close relationship, but I also think that they may have missed out on a couple of really valuable hard lessons.
Oh yeah.
That could have happened earlier on rather than in adult life.
Okay.
That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you, because I mean, we all grew up the same age when my brothers and I and my sister were there, but
yeah.
But having my own family, there was a 10-year age gap between all my kids.
Oh yeah.
And then now having grandkids, the things I've learned raising my kids, and now, you know, raising grandkids or being around grandkids all the time, things change. You've learned a lot of things, and you watch your children raise their children. You think, well, I wouldn't do that, or yeah, that's a great idea, or you know what I mean? But like you said, your parents learned a lot with you guys. And at the beginning, with parents and children, I think the parents are learning just as much as the kids are growing up.
It's a total experiment, especially your first couple kids.
Right? Right? You start to figure it out by the second or third one.
With the first kid, you're almost like, nobody's going to like give me a
manual
test or a manual, or like I can just have a kid.
Right?
Like,
and then figure it out.
It seems almost dangerous.
It kind of is. It kind of is.
Yeah.
So you mentioned basketball. Your brother played basketball. Did you play sports growing up?
Yeah, I did a lot of things. I played basketball, baseball, football. Um, really got into skateboarding and snowboarding. Snowboarding is my ultimate love, but
Nice.
um, basketball was the first thing that I fell in love with.
Okay.
And by the end of high school, it was clear that I had more of a football body. So football became really fun later on.
Nice. Nice. So with regards to team sports, what what kind of impact or what kind of lessons did you learn from team sports, being part of a team and part of a group?
Oh, I look at those years as super valuable that way. Just being a part of something with a lot of moving parts, being a piece of a machine. I was really lucky that I grew up playing on some really strong teams with some really good coaching right from the beginning.
Nice.
And so that was my norm right from the beginning. Having coaches that had really high expectations and teammates actually that had really high expectations really brings out the best in you.
Awesome.
When you have one or two real ringers on your team, it elevates everybody because you see that as the norm, and you see that they have no excuses ever, and they train harder and they work longer, and they're more intense about everything, and you fall into those patterns with them.
Nice.
I think I with basketball, right away, that the group of kids that I was with, it was like a well-oiled machine from the time we were in like 6th, 7th grade. And
awesome.
We smoked everybody, and it was just like I keep going back to a machine. It was like a machine.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of the surrounding areas, the teams, several years to even come close to catching up to us.
Nice.
And it was because we had a couple ringers, but we just worked together like a team. So I try and apply that to my working life too. And with the daily grind, sometimes it's easy to forget that.
Yep.
But
when
things are working like that, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like when you watch live music and you can tell the band is just like grooving together.
Totally in sync.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
That is awesome. That's amazing. Which person outside of your family do you think had the largest impact on you?
My first real job that I had, I worked for the town of Raymond.
Okay.
And when I first started there, he was kind of a senior man. He was a equipment operator, but he was kind of at the senior end of it. And then later he would become like the public works director. Still working?
Yeah. I thought maybe it kicked out on us.
So yeah, his name is Phil Libert. And I really liked him right away because he was a hard ass. And he taught me, I should have already known how to work because my parents taught us how to work, and my dad was a great example of that. But there's something about getting your first job working with adults when you're a kid. I was 16,
Yeah.
and this guy worked us hard, and he didn't take any excuses, but he wasn't cruel or anything like that. The biggest reason why I say him is because he gave me opportunities to grow and move up.
Nice.
He didn't keep me on a shovel. He put me in equipment as soon as he could see that I wasn't an idiot and that I could learn things. He put me on machinery. Pretty soon I was, on the jumping jack.
Nice.
Which is like, I always say, it's like wrestling a really tough little person all day.
All day. Yep. Those are not easy.
Yeah. And then, then he put me on a packer, a roller. And then he put me in the Bobcat. And then he put me on the front end loader. And for a kid, I was really hard on myself. By the end of high school, I kind of had beaten the crap out of my own self-worth, I guess you could say. I did that all myself, though. Like, I have no idea why, looking back, I did that to myself. But
right.
He showed me that I could do things by giving me more and more responsibility. And he passed away a couple of years ago from cancer.
It's hard. It's hard when that happens. So how important is it, do you think, to have self-worth?
Oh man, if you don't believe in yourself, you get stuck. And that's kind of what happened to me a little bit in high school. Is for me, it started out with laziness in school. Like, I was a pretty decent
I don't know what you're talking about. I've never been lazy in school.
It started out, I was a pretty decent student through junior high, and then high school hit, and I just was so distracted by everything else that I wanted to do. And then I got lazy with my studies. And then as my grades kind of dropped, I thought that it was because I was stupid.
Oh, okay.
And there was nobody telling me I was stupid. There was, my parents were supportive.
Just kind of in your own mind.
Yeah. I let those dark thoughts worm their way in too far. And so by the end of high school, I kind of thought I was an idiot. And so the self-worth was gone. And then that allows you to make, more stupid choices. If you think you're stupid and you're not worth anything, you treat yourself that way.
Right. Thoughts become things, as they say.
Yeah. And so, like, I'm LDS. So after high school, a lot of my good friends started going on missions. Other ones were going to school, and I was just here. And so I was just like, oh, well, I'm a loser. Luckily, a couple things happened. Jill, my wife, girlfriend at the time, she wasn't going to get, bogged down in the life with a loser. So she gave me plenty of chances and everything to be better than I was. But when she graduated from high school, she was a year behind me. She went right away to university, and she moved away, and she broke it off because I was not showing promise.
Right.
So I had to go way down and feel like I was worth nothing. You get those super dark thoughts, and then find out that there was no reason to be at the bottom. Have a few good friends that reach out to you, and good parents that you realize, like, I have no reason to be this depressed.
Right.
And then you slowly start working your way back up. And at that same time, I was working for the town of Raymond again. And, I was having more positive experiences with that, and started getting my life a little more back on track. And then the self-worth comes back. You're like, hey, I might be able to do something. I might be able to have a good relationship with somebody. And life is funny because it's, as soon as I started feeling better about myself, and I actually got to the point where, okay, I lost Jill. She's never going to come back. I think I can survive this. I think I'll be okay. I think I'm smart enough to figure this out. That's when she came back.
There you go.
Yeah.
Opportunity knocked again.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you mentioned positive attitudes and stuff. How critical is it to have positive attitude all the time and have positive experiences in your life?
I'm not always the most positive person. So I definitely have seen when I am positive, how much better things go.
Yeah.
I always talk about myself, I'm a realist. You know, if something sucks, it sucks. If something's great, it's great.
Yeah.
I think it's important to seek after positivity a lot. If you aren't thinking positive, you might not even see the positivity in things. So that's something that I've had to develop over years and years. Read some good books.
Yeah.
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 I think you have to put positive in to get positive out.
Right.
So there's been times in my life where I've consumed more positive media, books, podcasts, and everything in between.
Awesome.
And there's a big difference in how life goes when you're thinking positive thoughts.
Well, you can't just sit in the corner and everything's just gonna show up and be perfect.
Yeah.
You have to go out and create it.
Yeah.
You have to make it the best that it can be.
You have to make it the best it can be. Yeah. Exactly. And when things do get crappy, you have to accept it.
Yep.
But one of the things that I just recently learned, and I think we all learn this at some level along the way, but one critical thing with positive thinking is accepting responsibility for everything that's going on in your life, in a positive way.
Right.
Like, things might not be your fault, but you still have to accept responsibility for things that even happen to you.
Right.
Like, if I can accept that I was victimized by something or other, then if I accept responsibility for how I act after that point, how positive can it be?
Right. Right.
Control your mind. And it's pretty hard sometimes.
Try and keep you out of those depressed states. Yeah. My wife reads a ton of positivity books and all about, creating positive attitudes and success and things. And she instills that in me all the time, constantly. There's the water there beside you if you want, on the floor there.
Oh, awesome.
I forgot to mention that beforehand.
My wife, she's a optimist.
There you go.
Naturally.
The glass is always half full.
Yeah. And we've had a rough few years for a lot of reasons, deaths and family issues and being taken advantage of in business and stuff like that. And we kind of had about 2 years there where it just seemed like we're just getting the crap kicked out of us. And I wasn't always the most positive about it all. And after a while, I saw that me being the way I am, a realist, but without taking responsibility, I could see it rubbing off on my wife, that innate positivity was getting beat out of her and by life. And I found that if I can push myself up with positive thinking and the positive attitude, it comes right back with her because she's so naturally that way.
Nice.
So like a huge thing for our marriage.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How important do you think it is to have positive relationships in your life, whether it be with a spouse or workmates or even just friends?
I don't even know if I can think of anything more important. Like your experience in life is mostly relationships, right? Like to me, the best parts of life are your relationships, or it should be.
Awesome. Doesn't matter what you do, you have a relationship with someone.
Yeah.
Like be it work or friends or walking down the street.
Like I want to go to work and I want to have a great time and I want to laugh with, and I want to have inside jokes with my,
right,
fellow workers, and I want to come home and I want to have meaningful relationship with my kids and my wife. And I couldn't think of a bigger failure if you can't at least reach some degree of that.
Nice. Awesome.
I think for me, a lot of that is based on humor. When I get comfortable with people, usually I try and make people laugh, but it's when things get comfortable.
Right. When people laugh, I think they relax more.
Oh yeah.
And I think when we all laugh, we feel good.
Yeah.
Right. The more you laugh, the better you feel, kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
So when you can crack a joke or have a little fun with somebody and you both laugh about it, I think it really makes you comfortable with each other.
Yeah.
And it makes everybody happier.
Yeah.
And it definitely makes the day go better.
Yeah, definitely. You get through the crappy times that we all experience a little bit more smoothly if you can have a little bit of humor, maybe a little sarcasm.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Do you find so you mentioned your kids and stuff, and you like to have fun with them, and I know you go snowboarding with your kids and stuff. So you've played team sports. Now with snowboarding and stuff, have you ever done that competitively?
No. The only thing competitive about that is just, well, you want to do better than you did last time,
Nice.
You want to learn certain tricks. It's a really different way of competing. You're competing against yourself. And if you have a good crew of guys or a group of people that you go out with, there's usually develops a little bit of like unspoken competition.
A little camaraderie.
Yeah, for sure. Like there's a couple really good snowboarders that I used to go with, just after high school. And these guys are both really good, but they were just like outwardly competitive with each other. So with those individual sports, you can definitely still get competitive, even if you're not actually in the competitive scene, doing contests.
Right. So how important is it for you, not necessarily just in snowboarding or skateboarding, but how important is it for you to do better than you did last time?
That's a big thing in snowboarding and skateboarding. They always referred to it as progression. And obviously, as you get older, your progression doesn't
dwindles.
Yes. So you look for different things, but when you're learning those sports, progression is everything. Learning one trick leads to the next trick. Getting comfortable going off a jump that size leads to getting comfortable going off a jump that's a little bigger, or a cliff, or so progression is everything in those sports. And if you watched like snowboarding or skateboarding footage from, say, the early 90s, and like professionals,
right,
and you watch professionals from now, you can see the progression. Like it's massive. It's come a long way, more so than most sports. You can see the progression.
Well, even remember the first time they did a flip on a skidoo?
Yes.
Snowmobile?
Yeah.
And now they're getting into doing front flips?
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's the progression, right?
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast with my wife earlier today, and the guy talked about the 4-minute mile.
Yeah.
And everybody said, no, it can't be done, can't be done. But as soon as they broke it, everybody was doing it.
Yeah.
Because you can.
It gives you permission.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. You gain that permission, gain that progression.
Yeah. And the kids watching snowboarding now that are like wanting to be a professional snowboarder or just in love with the sport, what they're watching now that they think is normal wasn't even dreamt of 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Right.
And oddly enough, like video games have played into that too.
Oh, for sure. Because on a video game, you can do anything.
Yeah.
So if we can do it on the video game, we should be able to do it out on the street. Right?
Yeah. Which is ridiculous, but it, for some reason, has made an impact.
That's how it happens. Yeah, definitely. What is your biggest fear?
Probably losing my wife and kids, whether breakdown of relationship or losing them to an accident or something.
Okay.
For sure.
Family.
Yeah.
Family is very important. What is your biggest motivator?
Probably responsibility. If you're talking about the core part of life, for sure, responsibility. And being someone that can be given responsibility and relied on, for sure.
Okay.
And then I almost look at my life in 3 parts. There's the family, the responsibility, the work, that's one part. And then there's the creative part. And then there's the fun part, like the selfish fun.
Nice.
Like there's lots of fun within the family part and the work part, but like I still do a lot of snowboarding and skateboarding, and
nice.
And so that's kind of like the selfish fun.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. But
that's awesome.
So yeah, the most important parts of life, I feel like it's, responsibility. And I think from my dad, I've always thought of being responsible as a way of showing your family love.
Okay. Yep.
So.
Yeah, that plays a big part in it.
Mm-hmm.
What is your why?
My why. Clarify that for me.
No, that's your perception of how you want to take it.
That's a tough one. My why is I really have a deep desire to like create. Um, and that can mean so many things, right?
Yep.
But
Yep.
I feel like I'm most happy when I feel like I'm creating, whether it's, you know, with art. I paint a lot.
Okay.
With art, or creating a better life for my family, or, you know, um, being creative within my job as a dental hygienist, um, is important to me too. Although that's probably a little harder for people to understand. How could you be creative when you're cleaning teeth?
Just do it differently.
Yeah. Trying to figure out how to do that better is, you got to get creative sometimes. There's some really challenging patients, and with really serious problems, whether they're dental problems or any other type of health problem or mental problem. Um, you got to get really creative to serve those people.
Nice. Okay. Um, you said you're a dental hygienist. What importance does education have in your life?
I wish I would have realized how important it was a lot earlier. Um, I went back to dental hygiene school after working like mostly like labor jobs and kind of unskilled work. Um, went back to school when I was 27. Already had 3 kids.
Okay, that makes it tough.
Yeah, and I wouldn't trade my kids or my wife or my relationships for anything. But if I would have gone to school and got my career going 8 or 10 years earlier, our financial situation would have been
Right.
way better.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, and that's education. You know, I basically, like, dental hygiene, I did 1 year of prerequisites and less than 2 years in school, in dental hygiene school. So about 3 years of schooling. And I probably more than quadrupled my income.
Okay.
Which, big deal, you know, money is just money. But what it helped do was it helped my wife to be able to do more at home.
Nice.
She still works hard. She has a work ethic like crazy. But you know, it helped us get our first house. It helped us put nice clothes on our kids, feed them good food. You know,
Perfect.
they go to school and they're clean and they look good. And you can't do a lot of that stuff without money, you know.
Right. Right.
And
even though you make do,
yeah,
it makes it easier.
yeah. Paying for all the sports and everything that the kids do, and we wouldn't be going snowboarding. We wouldn't be going snowboarding if I was still making what I was making back then, you know. So the education changed everything for us.
Nice.
I am very lucky that my wife was smart enough to go to university right after high school.
Yeah.
You know, she was an excellent student. She could have done anything school wise, but she got out there and got it done quick. And
awesome.
She's a court reporter, and she's been doing that for 20 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
So education's important.
Absolutely.
So what do you think carries more importance, classroom or life lessons?
I think you got to have a little of both. Um, we've all met the highly educated idiot.
Right.
They're
Really smart, but doesn't know nothing.
Yeah, they're as useless as a sack of hammers, right? Like, you got to have someone. The most powerful people are the ones that have a ton of knowledge, but they can deal with people.
Right.
Those are the most effective people in the world, right?
And you don't learn to deal with people in school.
Maybe a little bit, but you don't have to.
Correct.
You have the opportunity to, but you don't have to. You can be, a crazy savant and get through school and get straight A's without ever talking to hardly anybody. But you're surrounded by people in school. Like, when I got into dental hygiene school in South Texas, it was me, a couple other white guys, and like 35 Mexican American girls. So I could have just buried my head and just got through school. But instead, we all interacted, and I learned a lot from those people. And some of it I learned what to do, and some of it I learned what I definitely didn't want to do.
Right.
And I learned, I got a bit of a taste of a different culture. And if I would have been one of those people that wasn't looking for life lessons, I wouldn't have ever experienced how cool it was to be down in a different, very different culture.
Right. Right. So, forgot the question I was going to ask. So spending the time in school and associating with other people and learning.
Yeah.
How do you know when you know?
I think it shows when you're in tougher social situations and you can navigate through them. Or, you can see when somebody has got those life lessons when they can get into a situation that's very difficult. Say some other person is being very difficult in whatever way you can think of, and that person can navigate through that situation peacefully and creatively, and makes the situation better. And that could be something as simple as just an awkward encounter, or that can be as complex as a violent encounter. And you can't do that without life lessons.
Right. Okay. Who is your biggest idol? Who do you look at and say, I want to be like them, or I want to do what they've done, or I want to, have the same kind of experiences that they've had?
Mm-hmm. There's a pro snowboarder. His name is Brian Iguchi, and he's a little bit older than me. I think mid 40s. I'm 41, and I think he's 4 or 5 years older than me. So he came into professional snowboarding really early, and he got caught up in the competition side of it and the style side of it and everything, and he was one of the top pros for several years.
Nice.
And just as his career was peaking, he decided to do what he wanted to do,
not what everyone was telling him to do.
Yeah. So the professional snowboarding culture and industry was centered in California, Lake Tahoe and everything like that. And this was before the internet. So if something was centered there, it was centered there.
Right.
It wasn't so connected like everything is now.
Right.
This was early 90s. So he moved to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Where the heck is that, right? So he basically took himself off the map, and because he wanted to ride big mountains, he wanted to be at peace. He wanted to create art. He's an amazing artist, and so he moved out there. He started a family. All his professional sponsors dropped him. He was sponsored by Burton, which is the biggest snowboard company in the world. He had it made, and he followed what he wanted to do and what was important to him, and he had integrity. He still wanted to snowboard every day, so he worked really hard, regular jobs in Jackson Hole, and still snowboarded all the time.
Nice.
He started learning about backcountry snow safety, which that's inspiring to me too. It's a science. So you take this punk pro snowboarder, skateboarder. He was actually a pro skateboarder before he was a pro snowboarder.
Nice.
In California, Southern California. And then he took himself all the way to being a super highly educated backcountry safety person. And as the industry shifted, and social media came about and everything, all of a sudden he's totally relevant again.
He's top of the map again.
Yeah. He's like the legend of legends within the sport, right? And he's got sponsors again and everything, just because he just stayed the course on what he felt was important.
Nice.
And yeah, he's my idol.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
I've met him a few times, and he is the most humble, soft-spoken guy you could ever meet.
Yeah. So when you've met him, have you told him, I want to do the things you've done? Did you say, I'm your biggest fan?
Yeah, I tried.
Sign my hand.
I tried not to fan out. I tried not to fan out too hard, but I've been really lucky to have, a few conversations with him.
That's awesome.
And, I definitely told him how much I appreciate what he's done. And
he's inspired you.
Yeah, definitely. And I, even more so than snowboarding, I got to talk to him for a couple minutes about art.
Nice.
He's an amazing painter, and so that was super special to me. They always say, be careful about meeting your heroes.
Yeah.
But it doesn't apply to him. You like him even more. He's
nice.
He's one of the best people out there, and now he's raising a couple kids. And
awesome.
Yeah.
Good example.
Cool. Yeah, super good example.
What does your art do for you? Why do you do your art?
I started noticing really early on that I could make an image better than most kids.
Nice.
In grade 1, we did self-portraits, and I looked up, and because the teacher put them all up there, and mine was the best. And so right away I was like, yeah. They weren't good.
No, but they weren't stick men.
Grade 1, mine was a little bit better, and so for me, that was always something that I could fall back on to feel good about myself a little bit, like I have this thing.
Nice.
And my mom was very quick to point out that, we all have talents, and some people's are harder to see, but, she let me know that I was lucky, because there's your talent right there.
Nice.
And so she supported me, with that. She always, if I ever wanted any art supplies, it was like, didn't matter what it was, she would get it for me.
We'll figure out how to make it work.
Yeah. You know, she put me in some art lessons with an amazing artist, Southern Alberta artist, Mark Hall. And, you know, and it was just a few weeks, but it made all the difference. But it satisfies that need to be creative, like more directly than I think anything does for me.
Do you create stuff and sell it, or do you just create stuff for yourself?
I do a bit of both.
Okay.
I have done several commissions, like where someone calls me up or contacts me and says, "Will you do this for me?" I don't. I've done like a little bit of like almost stepping towards commercial art. I don't like doing that.
Nice.
Yeah, I like doing stuff that I want to do. Like for example, I did a couple of goalie masks.
Oh, nice.
Custom painted goalie masks, and there was a couple that I did that I really quite enjoyed, because the one kid, he wanted his mask turned into a dragon's face.
Nice.
And the other kid, he wanted snakes on the side of his, you know, cobras.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and so that was really fun. And then after I put those on social media, I had several people call me and ask me, can you put my business's logo on my motorcycle helmet?
Yeah, no.
And yeah, that doesn't do it for me at all.
So. Yeah, that gets too commercial.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't want to be doing this at all. This is something that I love. And
those goalie masks must have been a good challenge, eh?
Yeah, they were a really good challenge.
That's awesome.
But a lot of what I like doing has to do with the mountains.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you do mountains with snowboarders?
People are not usually present in my paintings, but I do.
But you dream about snowboarding the mountain. You just did, right?
When I'm out snowboarding, and I do a lot of backcountry snowboarding.
Yeah.
So you climb to the top on your own feet. And you get 1 or 2 good runs in a day. But they're the best runs you've ever had.
Oh, yeah.
And
fresh powder.
Yeah. Untouched. But because you're moving so slowly through the terrain, you can take a lot of pictures and you see stuff that you would never see. And so I paint from some of those pictures.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, and the way that I like to harness that creative feeling is I don't try and make them perfectly realistic. I try and make them look how it felt to be there, not look exactly how it would look in the picture.
Right.
So some people would call them like slightly abstracted.
Okay.
I usually take out some detail and I pump up the color and
nice.
And so yeah, it's just that creative fuel. And the more I do it, the more creative I feel and the more creative I want to be. So
nice.
it's if there's anything that makes me feel really good, it's finishing a painting that I feel has been a success.
Nice. So that's kind of your mellow place, your own space.
Yeah.
Do you do any other sort of meditation or yoga or self-healing or anything like that other than your art?
Music, actually. To me, listening to music, I am a connoisseur of certain types of music, and that it's a big part of my art too. But being someone who's always had a little bit of a commute, music is my wind up and my wind down.
Nice.
And probably I'll have hearing damage because of it, but it's like Music I consume like high-end food. You know what I mean? Like some people, there's nothing better in life than really good food.
Yeah.
Music is like that for me too. It's just,
Nice.
it feeds me.
Love the good music.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's me. I love music. I could listen to it all day long.
Yeah.
And sometimes the louder the better.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. What would you suggest for other people for kind of a self-healing type of thing?
I think you need to find something where you feel like you've been creative. Like my wife is extremely intelligent and talented and creative, but she's been frustrated at times because she hasn't found that thing where it's clear that it's her thing.
Yeah.
She's impatient with the process. If she's not good at it the first time, she's good at plenty of things the first time, but if she's not good at it the first time, sometimes she won't give it a chance. But I think you have to find something, creative outlet. I feel like after you've taken care of all the basic needs of life, then boom, all of a sudden you're at this point where you're like, okay, now we can add meaning to life with the creativity.
Nice. Nice. What do you think inspired you to choose the career you're in now?
Well, part of it was probably a little bit of luck. I needed to, at that point in our life, we were just expecting our third kid and had to find something that I wouldn't have to be in school forever for, that would, definitely up our income. Nice. In a short amount of time.
Yeah.
My older brother's a dentist.
Okay.
And he, watching him have success and stuff was inspiring for sure. And I knew that at that point in my life, it would have been really hard to go back to school for like 6 years, because that's what it takes to be a dentist, like minimum 6 years. But I knew that was a good scene, the dental world. You get to work inside in the winter. You're working around people that are relatively in control of themselves.
Right.
You're not working around a lot of drugs or pornography, or, the influences in a dental office are typically positive. You're working
a little bit down in the mouth.
Yeah.
That's about it, though.
Yeah. So that was part of it. Just looked like a good scene.
Yeah.
And
good atmosphere.
And even through high school, when I wasn't being a very good student, I still did well in science.
Nice.
and enjoyed science. And so the education part of dental hygiene is all science.
Right on.
Every class you take has ology on the end of it. And you know what? I enjoyed every class.
Yeah.
So
right on. That's awesome.
That's where the luck came in. I got into it head first. I just dove in head first, and I ended up actually loving school.
Nice. So. That's awesome. If you could do anything else in your life without the possibility of failure, what would you choose?
If I had known that you could have a career in the mountains with snow science, that's what I would have done.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Going back to the whole snowboarding thing. And
yeah.
That's being out in nature is amazing to begin with.
Yeah.
We get deer walking through our front yard all the time. In fact, 3 or 4 hours before you got here, we had a couple walk by the window and I saw them, jumped up quickly with my wife, and we went over and they sit in our front yard and eat the berries off the tree.
Oh, do they? They found your
And my
your berry
granddaughter
bush,
was up there and we were watching them for about 45 minutes. There were 6 of them out there.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing. And to me, that's nature right in town.
Yeah.
But yeah, being in nature is awesome. There's a calming presence about it.
Absolutely. And kind of going back to one of your earlier questions, you know, we're talking about how, you know, some people meditate or whatever. I do my art. I listen to music. Being out in nature on the side of a snowy mountain, that's like spiritual to me.
It gives you time to self-reflect.
Yeah.
And, you know, go through your own life and your own mind and organize everything. And, you know, definitely gives you that time to meditate, even if you don't think you're really meditating.
Yeah.
You know,
this could be controversial within my religion, but I actually I feel the most spiritual when I'm on the side of a snowy mountain in the wind.
Nice.
Taking pictures, and I feel closest to God.
Yeah.
During those times. And way more so than sitting on an uncomfortable chair in church. Yeah. Like I still try to do that. I'm not perfect there, but I still try to do that. I go to church and, but that's not my spiritual place. And I've had to become comfortable with that about myself. Because some people go to church and they're, you know, they feel spiritual, they feel God's love.
Right.
And they feel camaraderie with people, and that's where they get their spirituality from the gospel proper.
Right.
Whereas I've had to accept in myself that I might get it a little differently.
Right. And I think, I mean, there are people that go to church because that is where they feel the most spiritual.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think a lot of people go to church because that's what you do.
Yeah. The responsibility
And granted, you go to church and you have that camaraderie, if you will, or that sense of group or family, you know, everybody that's got the same values, same morals, whatever. But I think all of us individually, I'm kind of like you. I feel more at peace when I'm out in nature.
Yeah.
You know, you have that wind blowing through your hair. I love to be with my family.
Yeah.
And if we're together out enjoying time at the park or whatever, to me, that is a very good place to be.
Yeah. I agree.
You know,
yeah.
And it's amazing.
I'm jealous in some ways that some people can just simply go to church and they feel like spiritually
all of a sudden
fulfilled.
Everything's awesome.
But also I'm really glad that has pushed me into the mountains and into the wilderness more than it would have. And I went through a period of time early in adult life where I got to do that a little bit less. So I felt what it's like to not do that very often.
Yeah.
And then the last about the last 10 years since I came back from dental hygiene school, I've done it more and more, and what a difference.
Do you find you how do I want to say that? Do you find you respect it more, or you I respect it probably isn't the right word, but do you find that you take it more to heart that you get to do that than the times that you get to do it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I feel like the luckiest person ever every time I get to go do it.
Awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. That's amazing.
Me and my super close friends that I go do this with, they all say the same thing after, like how lucky are we where we live,
Right.
that we can just drive an hour and we're in these beautiful mountains, and that we have the freedom to do this, like,
Awesome.
and just, it's special.
It's amazing. What is one thing in your life that you have accomplished so far that you're most proud of?
I think the people that my kids are growing up to be so far.
Nice.
Yeah, and I like to think that I at least have a small hand in that.
Mostly the wife, but you too.
Yeah.
That's what I always say. My wife did the most.
Yeah, it's absolutely no doubt. But if I have any part in who my kids are becoming and who they already are, I'm most proud of that.
That's amazing. That's awesome. What is something that you've done that you wish you could go back and change?
Some people say, oh, no regrets. Me being that realist type, they're like, oh, I have plenty of regrets, and it's okay. It's okay to have regrets, as long as they don't let them drag you down.
Okay.
But oh man, that's a tough one. There's probably a couple that I won't share, but early on in my relationship with my wife, I wish I would have treated her better, been less selfish and more sensitive. That's
Nice.
kind of a really generalized answer.
Nice.
I don't want people to take that the wrong way, though. Like, I've always been faithful to her. I just haven't been really nice.
Yeah.
I
think just like I was saying earlier about, parents starting to raise kids. I think when you get in a relationship, we both have to learn as well, right? And I think as men, we're probably more selfish.
It seems that way
than the women are, right? Yeah. So I think we could all kind of probably relate to what you're saying without getting into it,
Yeah.
What's one thing in your past that has given you your greatest life lesson so far?
I think I'm going to go right back to what we were just talking about. Having a marriage that was rough at times, and we all have ups and downs, and they're not going to go anywhere either. Like, we're still going to have ups and downs, but being a jerk, at least to some level, for so many years, and then getting to the point where a big turning point was when I decided to be grateful for, what she is and what she does for me. Was that the end of all of our problems? No. But that was a huge turning point where you could see, okay, this could actually work. As if I have a deep appreciation for who she is, what she does.
Nice.
And, what she will do. And so just the turning point, the life lesson was learning to how much better your life can be if you're better to others. I guess that's kind of the basic of it.
Right. Nice. What is your idea of perfect happiness?
I think peace in the home and fulfillment in work and hobbies.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
They all play a big part and they all kind of come together to make us who we are,
Yeah.
don't they?
Yeah.
That's awesome. If you could write a letter to your younger self, what age would it be and what advice would you give?
I'd probably somewhere around 9th or 10th grade, 14, 15. I would definitely write a letter. If there was some way that I could convince myself that, I could do a lot more than I think I could have done, um, yeah,
Work harder.
work harder,
Maybe
yeah,
it'll all be okay.
work harder. If I could give my younger self a glimpse of what I could actually do, then I would have had a good head start on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Would you change anything from your past? Like, I mean, all the things we've gone through make us who we are,
mm-hmm.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
all your mistakes, you
Yeah.
learn from them, you become a better person. All the good things you've done, make
Yeah.
your life go better and make you who you are. But would you go back and change anything? Like, if you did change it, who would you be now?
Yeah. I've talked about this before with people, and I always say I would only change. I could only go back and change something if I knew I'd still have all the relationships that I do now.
Right. Good call.
Like I went to fine art school for a year, and early on, it was like right after we got married 20 years ago. And really long story short, 9/11 happened and it derailed my chance to. I was accepted to an animation program down on the West Coast.
Nice.
I was going to be it was at the dawn of digital animation. I was going to be a digital animator. And then 9/11 happened, and my wife couldn't get a visa because I have my American citizenship. She doesn't. So I think about that all the time regarding this question. Like, what if I could go back and do that? What would it change? And the answer is it would change absolutely everything. So,
right.
It's like that butterfly effect,
right?
That people talk about it. That's such a deep question, right?
It is, and so definitely, if you did make one change, as long as you still had all those relationships, maybe everything would be fine. But
there's literally there was literally no chance that I would have all these relationships, though.
No,
because that's a perfect example. Because if you're in the entertainment industry, you're on the West Coast, so I'd be somewhere between Vancouver and San Diego.
Right.
It's cost a fortune to live on the West Coast. I'd probably have 1 or 2 kids rather than 5. My kids wouldn't know their grandparents,
Right.
So would I change anything? I guess the answer has to be no.
Right. Right. It definitely is something that you really gotta look at and think about, right?
Even if you go back and think about the most terrible thing that happened to you, and you really look at it, would you go change that? Because if you learned anything from it, would what would the next step in life be? You know,
Right.
would you been able to handle the next problem?
Right.
Would you been able to handle? Would you been able to help someone else with a problem if
Right.
you hadn't lived through that? So,
Right. If you could have lunch and a chat with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
oh man, it's a great question. There's some obvious ones. um,
What one would stand out for you?
well, obviously Jesus Christ.
You definitely get some good insight.
Yeah. But let's tone it back a little bit, maybe. That's a tough one. You know, actually, my dad's dad, my grandpa Jay, who was a World War II veteran, he died when I was 6 months old, I think, somewhere around there. I would have loved to have a good conversation with him. And I don't think he spoke much, so that might have been tougher than you think, but yeah, I would love to have a long chat with him.
Gain some life experience from that one.
Yeah,
definitely.
But that's assuming that he'd open up.
But like the question says, if you could chat with them and they'd be willing to chat back, then that'd definitely be a chat to have, right?
Yeah.
If you were stranded on a desert island and the device you had could only play one song over and over and over and over nonstop, what would it be for you?
That would kill me. But because being a connoisseur of music, you like variety, right?
Right.
But my favorite song for many years has been Everlong by Foo Fighters.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right on. And you'd be okay with it playing over and over?
I wouldn't be okay with any song playing over and over, but if it had to be one,
pick one, that'd be it.
Yeah.
Okay, so final question. If you went through your life, learned everything you ever possibly could learn, accomplished all your goals and dreams without failure, had the greatest experiences all through your life, and when you pass on, you have to take everything with you. Nobody on this earth would know who Trent Williams is, but you could leave behind 3 lessons for life. What would they be?
Trying to think of this, like, what are the lessons I try and teach my kids? Because that's probably a good place to start. Like, what do you want your kids to learn from you? And definitely the first one that comes to mind, you said 3, right?
3, yeah.
Is live a life of integrity, for sure. Okay. That's probably the most important. I try and teach my kids that, you're honest with people, and
nice.
Part of that is if someone gives you something to do, you do the best job you can, or don't even do it.
Right.
So my kids have they're great that way.
Awesome.
And so that's one that I'd love to leave behind, is just approaching everything with at least a certain level of integrity. And then find a way to be creative, because that's what's brought me the most joy in life, like outside of like relationships.
Nice.
And make sure that the people around you that you care for, make sure that they know that you love them.
Nice. Nice. Awesome. That's amazing. Yeah. Live your life with integrity. What was the second one?
Be creative.
I forgot already.
Find a way to be creative.
Be creative, yeah. Live a life with integrity. Be creative and show those close to you that you love them.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That is awesome. I appreciate your time, Trent. And thank you for all the good insight and information. I hope people watching and listening can take some of your life lessons and put them to use in their lives. You know, and hopefully we've made a difference in someone's life today. You know, that's...
And if they're bored, that's okay too, with listening to me drone on.
They can turn on Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
Again, thank you very much for coming. This is Trent Williams, and I'm Troy Hudkins. Thank you for joining us for Lessons for Life.
Thank you.
Tune in for another podcast in the future. Thank you.